pretty mild January, I would say. We haven't been too badly punished just yet this winter. I anticipate the worst is still coming, right? So I thank you for joining us on this evening. And for tonight, I have, my name is Lisseth von Trachtenberg, and I will be presenting self-coaching for small changes in habits. And so before we jump into that content, I did want to engage a little bit of participation from you folks. If you didn't, please take an opportunity, if you don't mind, go to menti.com. In there, it'll prompt you to put in this 8-digit code, and it'll bring you to this live PowerPoint here. And if you don't mind, just put some words down about feelings that come to mind when you think about making change, and what does that look like to you. And so we can sort of get a word cloud here going, so I can get a good idea of how people feel about making changes in their lives. And is that something that we're even thinking about? Tonight, I have a really wonderful framework that's provided. It's actually driven through coaching principles. And so long ago, I was trained as a certified health and wellness coach, and I had clients, and we actually worked through changes by implementing this framework that I'm going to introduce tonight. A lot of it is rooted in positive psychology, and so you'll see some of that familiar, leaning on some strengths and things like that. And so I'll go through the framework. It's not too long. I do appreciate questions, but it does sort of tie together all at the end with an example. And if anyone feels like they would be willing to share a new change or a new habit they're trying to create, we'd love to be able to talk through it and maybe, see how to make it happen. And so looks like maybe we've got a couple people giving feedback, and that's great. I love the words we have here. Feelings that come to mind is having some promise, being nervous, eager, hopeful, excited. Some people said fear of change, loss of control in the chat, and so thank you. All those things can definitely be true. And so as we work through this framework, hopefully we can settle some of those more negative thoughts or emotions that come with change by really taking a handle of this and keeping it top of mind. And let me switch gears here to my presentation. And so self-coaching for small changes and habits. And we're just going to get right on into it. So self-coaching for small changes and habits. Thank you again for having me here tonight. And we'll look at what today's goal is of the program. Coaching is really very personalized, and some of the main principles, like I mentioned, are rooted in psychology. So in order for this process to truly work, you really have to be open, honest, and vulnerable with yourself, and this for this process to be successful. It really isn't a one-size-fits-all approach, and it's truly intentionally designed that way, so that your desired changes actually stick. And so you might be sitting there thinking, how does this work, right? And so really it's because you're the one that lives your life, so you know what works for you. I could tell you this is the regimen, and you need to eat this many green vegetables and this many miles you need to run every single day at 6 a.m., but that might not work for you. Maybe you've got things and variables in your life that don't allow you to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Maybe you're a night shift worker and that's not possible for you to do. So there are sort of these nuances. What works for you. So by driving these changes really day to day, week to week, and month to month, year to year, you're in control of how quickly these changes become permanent. And you really start to develop some skills to guide yourself through these problem solving obstructions or barriers. These barriers. You can lean on some strengths through this framework and use previous successes and identify your confidence while setting your goals. So really learn to use your skills. And you want to get yourself in the right headspace when you start to begin to embark on change. It's not something that you just decide to do overnight without really putting some thinking to it. And so with that comes this creation and this notion in this framework to begin with creating a wellness vision. And so before we even start thinking about what change, what habit I want to start implementing, I want to look at this wellness vision. And what I like to bring attention to is just kind of the whimsy and fun of Alice in Wonderland and that Cheshire cat. And, allow yourself kind of to go to a place that's fun and exciting, because that will let you create a vision of what your health and wellness is really beautifully. And the reason I go to Alice in Wonderland and this Cheshire cat is because in the movie, Alice gets kind of lost, right? And she comes across the cat and she says to the cat, would you please tell me which way I ought to go from here? And he says, real jokingly, well, that depends a good deal on where you want to go. And she's like, well, I don't really care that much, And he's like, well, then it doesn't really matter where you go, which way you go. Any road will take you there, basically. And I like this because it really applies to our health and wellness goals as well. If we don't know what we want or where or how we want to achieve something, well, then any kind of path will take us there. But if we can truly define and clearly demonstrate what sort of vision we want for ourselves, then we can start making small, attainable goals and little habits to form each week that'll get us to that wellness vision. So this was a big cornerstone of the coaching framework that we implemented when we coached. And I mean, really a wellness vision is so crucial for your self-coaching journey. Again, really leaning on that honesty and self-reflection will help develop a genuine statement, and it sets the tone for our wellness journey. We all really do know that there are things that we can work on that can be better in our lives, especially when they're centered around sleep, our mental health, physical activity, or our food, right? Our nutrition. Those 4 areas, if we truly did an assessment of those things, and if they were optimally performing for us, we could all probably come back and say, okay, maybe I could clean up my food a little bit. Maybe I could do a little bit more physical activity. Maybe I can practice some good things for my mental health that I'm not currently doing. And so I think this wellness vision really starts to determine what that work is going to be around based on what your vision looks like. And so really truly understand that this coaching process is a lifelong journey. It's not a quick fix. It's not an overnight thing. So be ready to create sustainable changes that might take months or even years. And so really, I like to tell people to start around the notion that if you had a genie come out of a bottle right now, and kind of give you 3 wishes around your health and wellness, what would those look like? As you create this wellness vision, you want to give yourself some time. You want to sit down and allow, again, that creativity. Some examples here, are I'd like to quit smoking. If a genie came out of the bottle, I'd want that to happen overnight. Or I want to lose 35 pounds. I think I know that I feel the best at that place in that number, and that's where I want to be. Or I want to sleep for 8 hours a day. And then you're going to rely on looking at your strengths and your values and your challenges, and also really assessing truly what your level of readiness to change is. And so I dropped in the chat a handout, and hopefully I think Matt had also had an opportunity to email that to you guys. That really follows along the framework and will guide this spurring of ideas and a wellness vision. So if you follow that, it can really organize your thoughts, and also is a good reference for this PowerPoint presentation. So if you want to open it up and have it to follow along, it does follow this presentation, or it really was created so that if at another time you have some energy and you have some focus and you really want to dive into what these changes are in your life, you can bring that out and start working on it then too. So your level of readiness to change is really, really key. How ready are you to change? Change is a staged process, and you need to ask yourself, what are the pros and the cons for this change? How ready you are to change will determine how successful those changes will be. So research, again, has shown that change is a staged process. So if you are in the pre-contemplation of I won't, I can't, or I'm not going to, the likelihood of you focusing a goal around something that you feel that way around, it's probably not going to be a successful outcome. But if you're more in the action, preparation, or even contemplation, there is some energy around that. So really evaluating where you are is important. So when we move from not thinking about changing a behavior to thinking about it, to planning a change, we start to test out ways to do it before then we actually start. So we want to think about changing or adopting a behavior. The questions that we truly want to ask ourselves is, why do I really want to change this? What really are the pros? What is the benefits here? And why shouldn't I try to change this behavior? What are the cons? Is there something that is going to be taken away from me? Maybe it's my social life. Maybe it's, a social connection or some sort of group I belong to, and I won't have that if I make this change. And then you really need to determine if those pros outweigh your cons, or if it can be, does it have to be permanent, or can it be a slow transgression to make the change easier? And what would it really take for the change, for you to change the behavior and outcome those cons? What's the strategy? And really, in order to move forward, it's truly important to make realistic strategies to meet those challenges and overcome those cons. If you know there are triggers or moments or times where you're going to be tempted, there's going to be, a high craving of something, then you want to work around what you're going to do in that moment to strategize to get you through that. So also making these changes and starting to do the work is just as important as knowing what our strengths are. And so back in the early 2000s, in our social sciences, scientists really discovered a language of 24 character strengths, and they were broken down into 6 categories. So if you go here to this website, www.viacategory.org/surveys, /survey/take survey, that will take you to a place that will organize your strengths, and it breaks it down into these 6 categories of wisdom, courage, humanity, justice, moderation, and transcendence. And so in order to really know ourselves, this helps us identify where our true strength is and what we can do to lean on that in order to achieve our goal. So let's say that you truly are somebody that values teamwork and really needs love and feeling of love, and that's something that's really important to you. Well, maybe having a buddy or somebody to do these changes with you so that you have that connection is what's key to set you up for success. So knowing these strengths really enhance our health and overall well-being. They buffer against and manage and help us overcome problems, and really can help you tremendously guide during self-coaching. And so here's the characteristics as they break down. Like, let's say one of my, I know for me personally, one of my bigger strengths is love and then spirituality. So when I mess up or I find myself in a challenge, I know I like to, if one of my top strengths is humor, I like to make a joke out of something, right? If I didn't make it to a workout class I needed to go to, I'm like, well, it's going to be there tomorrow, and I still have an opportunity and can kind of make a joke about it and, keep moving on. And so this is a way to get over those barriers and those setbacks. And another thing to keep in mind, as we identify what our strengths are, lean into those, try to use them in order to strategize around our barriers. We can also look at setting ourselves up for success with the creation of SMART goals. So our SMART goals are really a way to streamline what we want and how we're going to get there. And again, knowing who we are and what strengths we have can help that as well. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, relevant, and time bound. And I'm going to just play this little short video here. And it's 4 minutes long. It kind of explains and breaks them down. Hopefully you folks are pretty familiar with SMART goals, or you've heard of them before. If not, this will be a nice introduction. So just let me know if you're not able to hear it.
I'm not able to hear it. I don't know if anyone else in the chat is.
Oh, no. All right, give me 1 second. All right. Let's see.
Regardless if it is professional or personal, we all struggle sometimes to achieve our goals. Many times, our struggle is not because of a lack of effort, but rather how our goals have been structured. Anytime you set a goal, or if you find yourself struggling while working towards a goal, keep in mind the word SMART. SMART is an acronym that can be used to help evaluate and add structure to your goals. SMART stands for specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time-bound. SMART begins with asking yourself the degree to which a goal is specific. This is arguably the most important part of establishing or evaluating a goal. The less specific a goal, the more difficult it is to determine how long the goal should take to complete or how to measure success. Consider the difference between a goal to get healthy versus the goal to lose weight versus the goal to lose 10 pounds. The goal to get healthy is much less specific than a goal to lose 10 pounds. The next question to ask: how is the goal measured? What determines success? Some goals may be best measured by a simple yes or no, such as the goal of climbing to the top of a mountain, while other goals are better measured by using metrics such as the goal to lose 10 pounds. The key to measurement is making sure that in whatever way the goal is measured, it accurately reflects success. For instance, if you do not have access to a scale, then measuring weight loss will be difficult and less accurate. An alternative measure may be to track how many inches you have lost around the waist. But to what extent does this accurately reflect the goal? Without access to a reliable way of measuring weight, we may want to consider buying a scale or restructuring our goal. Actionable is not asking yes or no, but how will the goal be achieved? What is our action plan? Do we have the resources and capabilities required to achieve success? If not, what are we lacking? Well-designed goals provide clarity of action. If the actions required to achieve a goal are unclear, or there are a large number of actions that need to be taken, we should consider breaking down the main goal into manageable, actionable sub-goals. In isolation, any single goal is relevant, but in life we most often are in the process of pursuing multiple goals. A common issue we face is having too many goals at the same time or pursuing the wrong goals. With this in mind, we need a mechanism to help us monitor our goals to make sure we are pursuing our most relevant goals at any given moment in time. One technique is to place goals in a matrix that looks at effort required versus perceived value of achieving the goal. Not always, but most of the time we will want to focus our energy on low effort, high value goals. Another technique is to use the Pareto principle, also known as the 80-20 rule. Ask, which are the 20% of goals that will provide me with 80% of my return? The last thing we want to make sure is that goals are time-bound. By including a specific date by which a goal should be accomplished, it helps provide incentive and allows us to monitor progress. Consider the difference between the goal to lose 10 pounds and the goal to lose 10 pounds in 10 weeks. Simply by including an element of time, we can now calculate how much we should be losing each week, and if after 5 weeks we have only lost 1 pound, we can revisit our action plan. Be wary of any goal that is open-ended, such as the common goal to learn a foreign language. Last, it is important to reinforce that goal setting is not an event. It is an ongoing process of action, evaluation, and revision. It is not about lowering goals or standards to ensure success. It is about recognizing goals are dynamic because life is dynamic. We do not live in a static world. Life happens. A goal that is relevant today may be irrelevant tomorrow. When using SMART, stay flexible and motivated by setting aside time to reevaluate your goals on a regular basis.
Okay, so very good, very straightforward information on SMART goals, which is very key for us as we get going. We've developed our wellness vision. We've got our strengths in order. We understand SMART goals. And this is key for us because now we need to get into setting 9-month, 6-month, or 3-month goals. Now, when I worked with clients, we developed our wellness vision and then we did 3-month goals. And then whittled down to basically weekly goals from those 3-month goals. But those can be as far out as they are comfortable for you. So they can be 9-month goals, they can be 6-month goals, they can be 3-month goals. The framework applies the same, but you are going to want to start from your furthest goal first. So from your wellness vision, which is this great, big, ideal state of health and wellness, then let's pare it down. So we want to decide on an attainable timeline, create your goals beginning with the furthest first. It really is a goal ladder. And so you'll kind of build off of them, as you'll see when I give you the example, or in your handout, there's also an example in there as well. Then as you set your goals and set them with that SMART framework in mind, you want to center those goals around these 4 areas of health. So either sleep, nutrition, physical activity, or mental health. That'll kind of get you started. A lot of people sort of don't know what area to get going in. So sort of think of those 4 areas, evaluate them, and then try to determine if there's a goal you want to set. So by 3 months, I want to be consistently sleeping 8 hours a night. How am I going to get there? And so then you create your SMART goal around it. So by 3 months, I'm going to be doing this sleep schedule routine 4 out of the 3 nights of the week. That's just where I want to be as far as a 3-month goal. And then we start determining our other goals as benchmarks to that progress. And so once you've created that goal, you want to assess your level of confidence. if that level of confidence is less than a 6, you actually want to go back and revisit that goal and rework it so that it's a 6 or higher. If you don't have confidence in your ability and your skill set, the likelihood of you actually doing it is very rare. And so you want to assess that level of confidence, and then you want to set a date for goal evaluation. Just like that video mentioned, this is dynamic. It goes on, it breathes. So the most important thing, it almost feels like the part that people are like, nah, I don't want to. But it is the most key piece of goal setting. And this framework is taking some time in 3 months' time to come back and revisit how you're doing in that goal and break it down. And so you do want to remember, because that truly is key, and don't forget. So we look at this wellness vision to begin. You look at this goal ladder, the goals really build off one another. So we start with our wellness vision at the tippity top, our 9-month goals, or the goal for furthest out should be built from this wellness vision. 6-month goals really should rely on those 9-month goals. 3-month goals should be built from the 6-month goals. Monthly goals should be built from the 3-month goals, and weekly goals should be built from the monthly goals. And so really, when you start creating goals, you're going to use your weekly goals as a benchmark. So your weekly goal, once you start going along, that first month goal should be a benchmark for your 3-month goal. It should have shown you some progress. So again, remember that time truly is on your side here, and slow progression is a good thing. So small changes, every goal really is connected and built off one another, and it's trial and error as well. So there might be some weeks where you really do hit it on the nose, and then there are some weeks where maybe I didn't complete that goal as well as I could have, and I need to ask myself why didn't I? What happened that day? What happened that week? Let me learn from it. Let me change, modify, reset that goal, and try again. And then until you get to a mastery piece and you feel that energy to challenge yourself, do you move on to that next challenging goal? So it's dynamic. It really is built off one another. And so you want that time to work on your side. So from that wellness vision, we created, let's say, 3-month goals. Now I'm going to set 1-month goals, remembering that ladder. So we're going to build 1-month goals from that, assess the level of confidence when you create that SMART goal, set your date for goal evaluation. It really is the most important. Your 1-month goals should be a benchmark for your 3-month goals. So you should have seen some progress towards what your 3-month goal is when you set your 1-month goal. So just like a broad example, let's say one of my 3-month goals is to run a 5K. Well, my 1-month goal should involve some form of running or training program or something that is getting me closer to achieving that 5K, right? So we want to make sure that we're using time on our side and time to anchor, our goals. And so the key factors, again, to remember those 4 areas of health and make them SMART. And we will, like I said, go through some examples here. I just like to present the framework first before I bring examples in. Things are looking pretty good. And now my favorite part is those weekly goals. And this is what I like to call the nitty gritty. This is where those small changes and those small little habits start. So really ask yourself when you start going, so you've set your wellness vision, you've got your strengths, you've done your 3 3-month goals. You've done your 1-month goals. Now you're into your nitty gritty. You're into those weekly goals. So you're going to ask yourself, maybe your wellness vision includes, finding equilibrium in all 4 areas of health that we have been looking at, right? Sleep, nutrition, mood, and food or physical activity. So maybe your wellness vision included all 4 of those. Like, I want to have equilibrium in my greatest wish and desire. That's what I would have. But you can't take it all on at the same time, right? I'm not going to change my sleep. I'm not going to change my eating, my physical activity, and my mental health all in 1 month, right? So I'm going to just take it as palatable portions. Maybe right now I am feeling energy around getting an increase in my physical activity. So I'm trying to challenge myself. I'm sick of the routines I've been doing. I found that I've kind of let them go because I'm not interested. So what do I want to challenge myself with? Let me try to do something new. And so I'm going to try kickboxing. Okay. I saw a studio right around the corner, and I'm going to try to do that. And so that's really important to me. And it's going to start, cleaning up my, exercise. And so what kind of systems or what kind of structures, if you will, do I need in place for this success? What kind of people or resources, systems, environments? I need my support people. I need somebody to be able to watch my son for me. And I need to be able to have the time within my job and flexibility. I need to make sure the studio is close by and that I'm able to get to it. So you want to vet out all of these little things, and all of these things take time. And so that's why we do say to allow time on your side. Maybe, I want to do this kickboxing thing. So my weekly goal this week is just to kind of do some due diligence, kind of do some background, get some information about what I can do. How much does it cost? What is this going to look like realistically? How can I set this up to work in my life? Is this something I'm able to drop him off and get this going? And, really start thinking about that tangible. And so by the end of this week, the goal I'm setting for myself is that I'm going to investigate that. And on Tuesday after dinner at 7 p.m., I'm going to look it up and check out what the costs are and what I need for equipment. And so then I'm going to set my confidence level. I can do that. That's really easy. I'm going to go for a 9. I can't imagine I have any reason. And in a week from now, I'm going to set an appointment to evaluate that goal. And I'm going to set aside that 15, 30 minutes. I'm going to ask myself how I did. Did I actually investigate? What did I find out? Do I have that energy to build on that goal? Maybe I take a chance and actually register for a class that next week, but let me not get ahead of myself. I want to one step at a time here, right? And so when that week comes, I'm going to evaluate, and I'm going to reset, and I'm going to set another goal. And you use this for weekly, monthly, or your 9, 6, or 3-month goal evaluation. So my check-in, how am I feeling right now? And this is important. We really found a lot of importance around checking in with people's energies in the training, right? So, or in the coaching, training, and framework. Because if you were a 7 or lower in energy level, this might not be a good time for you to assess goals. You might not feel the energy. You might not want that creative whimsy. You might not want to even challenge yourself. So maybe reset a time. Maybe tomorrow is better. So today's been a rough day. I'm not in the best mindset. So really check in first with yourself, right? How am I doing? What do I want to do? And if you're less than, did I say 7? I meant a 4. If you're less than a 4, you may want to reconsider rescheduling for a time when you're a 6 or higher. Then step 2, you're going to engage your positive energy. And this you do by saying, what is the best experience that you had with that goal this past week, month, 3 months, whatever it might look like, and why was it the best? And you really want to probe dig deep down. Like, you know what? I had a really awesome Tuesday. I was able to get my son off to daycare. I had the time to get my bag together, change. I wasn't rushed. I kind of stopped that meeting. If every day could be like Tuesday, I'd have no problem getting to where I need to be, or doing what I need to be. So really check in for those positive moments and what made it work and easy and seamless for you. And then step 3, we're going to review this goal. So what went well and what were my challenges? Okay, maybe it didn't go well on Tuesday. I had this meeting, it went late. This thing popped up and then I couldn't make it and then it all got ruined. So how can I strategize to best avoid a barrier like that next week? And if you found that you can really use a better strategy for that next week, reset that goal. And also some other questions you can ask yourself: what new strategies can I use to help complete this goal? What percentage of completion would I give myself for this goal? So was it 100% that I completed it? If I was supposed to do it 3 days a week and I only went twice, well, that's only 66%. So I need to be honest with myself about those things when I evaluate. I need to give myself the time and do this for all your goals. So step 4 would be on focusing. Now, what do I want to accomplish? Do I want to stay in the same energy as physical activity? Am I feeling a little challenge or energy around maybe making a change around my sleep? Maybe I look and start scratching the surface there and set a goal around my sleep this week too, along with my physical activity. Maybe is there something you want to know about, something you're interested in? Maybe there's a goal you can set where you can just start scratching the surface, doing, information, doing that research and discovery portion of it. What do you want to know? Acknowledge reflections or connections that you've made and decide what that next focus is going to be on. And then step 5, evoke that change talk. Ask yourself questions related to your target behavior and think about the reflections to build motivation. What really are your reasons for increasing your physical activity? What benefits would you want to see? This is to inspire, to kind of like reignite that energy, that inspiration, that motivation. Looking forward, how will your life be different if you're able to, implement physical activity 3 days a week? How would you go about making this change successful? And, what have you learned maybe from previous attempts or previous strategies? And why do you want to make this change now? Step 6 is really to goal set. So again, ask yourself what that next step is and where you want to go from there. Create that SMART goal. Make it so that your confidence is, above a 6 or higher. And if it's not, then reset it and then set that follow-up appointment. So whether it's going to be in a week, in a month, in 3 months, and you're going to do this and you're going to just assess your entire process. So I'm going to give you the moment we've all been waiting for, the example here. Although I sprinkled in a couple little examples for you guys. So hopefully it helped connect the dots a little bit too. But here is a wellness vision. So using exercise, nutrition, and stress management techniques, this would be my desire to live a life full of confidence and mind-stimulating activity for optimal overall health. I want to live well, maintain cognitive health into the later days of my life, and really maintain free of toxic habits. It is such a broad and big and chewy and just bubbly big wellness vision. And it's that way intentionally, because then I can whittle down what that means to me and how it's applicable in my life. And so I go for 3-month goals. In these next 3 months, this is what I'm feeling energy around. My physical activity, my nutrition, and my mental health. And so you can see there, I've got some goals set out. These are lofty. If I'm not doing any of this right now, I'm not being anything of physical active, I'm not eating my fruits and vegetables, and I'm not meditating at all, these are pretty lofty goals. If I were to try to, let's say, hit this and nail it tomorrow, it's not possible. So how do I break this down? So for the next month, the two things I want to work on are my physical activity and my nutrition. And so this is what that's going to look like for me. So now in my weekly goal, since that's where I'm headed towards, this is my 3 goals that I want to do. Research my coach to 5K running program. You can see it's very specific. It's on Monday when, you know, I'm going to buy these new running shoes. I'm going to eat 1 veggie 1 time this week at dinner on Tuesday. And then you're going to go through the entire assessment. Once you have set that goal and check in and see how it went, and again, use that that handout that I had given you, because it does kind of coach you through it. And so ask yourself what went well, what strategies can you use, and what percentage of completion. And that, folks, is the presentation. I have our sweet little word cloud here, but I also have a evaluation, if you don't mind. I'm going to put it in the chat. Just kind of let us know how we did on our end in Northwestern medicine. I'm just going to put a link here in the chat if you don't mind clicking on it. It's through Microsoft Forms. It's just 3 questions long. But this is the handout I was speaking of that you can use, and it does guide you through all of the steps that I covered in the presentation. So your wellness vision, assessing that readiness to change, designing your 9, 6, or 3-month goals, doing your monthly goals, your weekly goals, and then how to evaluate your goals here at the bottom. So thank you, everyone. Any questions now that you've kind of seen it all said and done? Is there any questions, comments, any feedback at all? Hopefully this will help.
Let's see, it looks like no questions from our live studio audience, but I know, you know, it's hard to get going on these things. So I think this is a good pathway, a good framework to use for sure.
It really keeps it top of mind. Like, you can't ignore it. If you focus on your changes in this capacity, it's going to stay so top of mind because you're really forcing yourself to go back, set that appointment with yourself, really stay intentional with those changes. And so I know this works. I have seen it work, and it really relies on more positive strategy and more reliance on, you know, staying in a happier place when it comes to your changes and achieving. So, you know, thank you everyone for giving me your time and your attention this evening. And I do appreciate it. And so hopefully you found maybe one little tidbit, one little nugget that'll help serve, you know, you in the future.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. And here's, you know, to a year of changes for the better.
That's right. Thank you all so much. You folks have a good night.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.